start. So good evening, dear ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to our educational sessions. And it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Professor Dr. Mohammed Nasarat of the Al-Hussein Talal University in Jordan. Dr. Mohammed is the native of Jordan, and he is specialist on the religions in Jordan in late antiquity. Of course, it was not a Jordan; it was the province of Roman and then Byzantine Empire.
Yeah.
But that period academically is called late antiquity, and today he's going to talk to us about the legacy that is left to us from that particular period of time, and of course with particular emphasis on the Christian remains in the rose city of Petra, where all of you who here present, with exception of one person, been. But maybe you'll fill the gap of what was not presented to you during the tour, and we will give you incentive to come back again. So I was like taking too much time. I'm passing the microphone camera to Dr. Mohammed. Thank you very much for being with us. Welcome, and we all are waiting for your presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, my father and my friend Eli. Good evening, friends. Wishing you all blessed evening. My father Eli, thank you very much for that introduction and hosting this lecture in this evening. Surely I appreciate your invitation. It's an honor to speak before you this evening about this is important topic about Christianity and religious environment of Petra in late antiquity. Today we are going to talk about religious environment of Petra in the late antiquity. But if you let me to talk just brief and give you a view about the Nabateans in Petra and the origin of the Nabateans, and some remarks about the history of Petra and the Nabateans and paganism in Petra before Christianity. You see here that the origin of the Nabatean is a controversial subject. It's possible they were originally nomadic Arabs who immigrated north from Arabian Peninsula into the land of Edom, migrated from somewhere in the Arabia, probably sometimes in the 4th century BC. However, more recent discoveries indicate some evidence to suggest continuity from the Edomites who occupied the area of the Wadi al-Hassa or Wadi Zarad in the Iron Age. Surely Petra situated in the modern day Jordan, and recently shaped worldwide famous by being recognized as one of the new 7 wonders. It was rediscovered by the Petra Church in 1812. During its heyday, the city was under the Nabatean control, and documentary records stretch from approximately 312 BC to 106 AD, when the Emperor Trajan annexed the city to the Roman Empire and called them Provincia of Arabia. And this Petra, and this is today Wadi called Wadi Musa. The Nabateans also possessed other cities, such as its southernmost outpost, Madain Saleh, here in Arabia, northern Saudi Arabia, and Busra in southern Syria, which later became their capital. Petra inclusion on the list of UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1985 is a reflection of the site surely importance. The site of ancient uh, uh, Petra, as you see in this map, surely played an important role in the military and commercial history of the Near East civilization. Its geographical position as well as political factors determined the export and import traffic throughout it. And you can see here the site of Petra, close to Sinai, close to Palestine, close to Arabia. Consequently, the Nabatean kingdom played an important role in the economy and politics of the Greek Roman Near East. Surely, it's fundamental always to ask what the Nabateans say about themselves. Unfortunately, we have no contemporary Nabatean writer in antiquity to offer such a perspective. So, in the absence of Nabatean literary sources, we are then forced to turn to their inscription and foreign sources. There is much that we don't know about the Nabatean culture. We think that there were many social and literature aspects of this sophisticated society. Well, we know that the information on the daily life of the Nabateans comes from literary sources and epigraphic and archaeological sources. Um, I think the main sources are Greek and Roman accounts, such as accounts of Diodorus of Sicily and the geographer Strabo, in addition to the Nabatean inscription. From these sources, we can deduce various scrap of information concerning Nabateans and some aspect of religion and social life of these people, as well as help us in the understanding of actual risks. Uh, at the beginning of their history, the Nabateans were known by being a semi-Bedouin nation. They are exceptionally fond of freedom. And in this slide, you can see the account of Diodorus of Sicily, who described the Arabia and the Nabateans as one of the most important Bedouin tribe in Arabia during the 4th century AD. We find also another account in Strabo, in geography of Strabo, talk about the Nabateans also and the Nabateans community, and was able during the period between the Nabateans was able, the community of Nabatea, the people of Nabateans was able during the period between the 4th century BC and the 1st century AD to turn into a stable agriculture society, and this is clear from the accounts of Strabo. But unfortunately, we don't have much information about the transition stage which the society of Nabateans passed through from the Bedouin into stability. But it's probable that Diderot's description of Nabateans reflects the situation in its early stage, while maybe after 3 centuries, Strabo observed the city of Petra when the Nabatean had developed construction techniques and brought their architecture to an advanced level. And you can see this is slide to talk describe the account of Strabo, who talk about the worship the sun by the Nabateans, building an altar on the top of the house. This is very important, as I mentioned, sources about the Nabateans. The Nabateans in southern Jordan, especially in Petra, like other ancient peoples in the ancient Near East, found numinous power in standing stall or petal. You know, this word derived from the word pet el, which meaning the place of God, and the archaeological excavations and surveys conducted at several sites in the southern Jordan, especially near Petra and Negev, have revealed more than 2,000 of these stones at the Nabatean camps, and Nabatean gods were commonly represented in the form of beetle with no distinctive human representation, and the standing stone of the desert represented different types of gods and deities in the Nabatean people. This means maybe that the Nabatean shrine usually consisted of standing stone. At Petra, surely there are many representation of them carved into rock. And now we can see also in the sake of Petra, of representation and places for beetles, about 65 have been counted in the Sikh alone, and more than 200 throughout Petra. And surely the god Dushara represent the sun among the Nabateans, and Strabo mentioned that the Nabateans worship the sun, and connected with the Bedouin stage, this god, which is the first stage of their life, as the Diodorus of Sicily mentioned in his library of history. But unfortunately, it's not clear what Shara, the word Shara, means or refers to. But we can see the mountain range. Sharad is the mountain range east of Petra, is called Shara, and this is local name still now using by the local people in Petra and its hinterland, called the shrine of mountain in Petra, Shara. And you can see in this slide the Shara niches of the Shara, Shara. But surely because we lack a Nabatean, as I mentioned before, we lack a Nabatean literature, as I said. We know little about Dushara and other gods in community in Petra and among the Nabatean. It seems that the Nabatean worship the deities they worshipped in their original habitat at Arabian Peninsula, as this is Shara Mountains, as I said. This idol, yes, here, as such as Allat, Al-Uzza, Manat, and Shia al-Qawm, and this is the important gods. This is the god who hates drinking wine and protect the tribe. We can see here the steel petals of Al-Lat and Al-Uzza, and this is from the Wadi Shalala, from Wadiram, in southern Jordan, near Ayla. Surely these gods brought by the Nabatean around the 4th century BC, and the Nabatean, like other Arabs from Arabian Peninsula, worship the god Dushara, as I mentioned, is considered the great Nabatean god. The Nabatean used to represent their gods, as we see in this slide, in the form of obelisk placed in the niches, and these obelisks may symbolize the fertility gods Al-Uzza and Dushara. And a few number of these obelisks were found in the walls of the Sikh of Petra, as in this slide, where every niche represents a temple and home for the petals, and this is petals still found in the Sikh and in Petra. The Nabatean also practiced their worship at high places in Petra that were usually on the top of mountains, and the high places is called Madbah. And we can see in this slide some kinds of Madbah used by the Nabateans and sacrifice to their gods. This Madbah, which takes the shape of a triangle and consists of yards, altars, as we see, and basins. Here, these high places allow the practice of worship rituals on the mountain summit in Petra, and this is some kind in this sacrifice to the gods here near the Jabal Harun, near Petra. Yes, the Nabateans were interested in building temples to become places of worship. These temples were spread all over the region of the Nabateans' kingdom, such as we see in this slide, the temple of Winged Lions. It's very important temples still found in Petra until now, and the great temple. This is very great slide to show the big temple in Petra, and this is the entrance of a great temple, and this is the one of the most temple in Petra, and represent the paganism. This is Castle Bent, or the Ger Palace in Petra. This is palace considered the most famous actually temple in the city, and was specified for the worship the Shara, as we see in this slide. After the fall and the decline, surely, of the Nabatean kingdom in the hands of the Roman in 1.6 AD, there were many gods still worshipped in Petra till I think 10th century AD. And the temple of Kasr Bent remained to be used as a temple to worship Dushara and Al-Uzza, which began to represent the Greek Roman gods, Aphrodite. This is a slide from Petra Museum. While the gods Isis continue also to be worshipped at the temple of the Winged Lions until the mid of the 4th century AD, and Al-Lat began to stand for the god Atractitis, This is the slide show the Isis from Petra, and these petals or represent the god Atractitis in Wadi Siyah in Petra. Surely it's good that the location of Isis cult sites in the Wadi Siyah, this this god, and also there's in Wadi Abu Ulaika in Petra are evidence of the importance of these gods from and came from Egypt, and that hair cult may have been established and maintained by merchants moving between Petra and Egypt and Egypt. Now, after this brave and talk about the some gods and some gods and worshipped in Petra by the Nabateans and the present the stage of paganism, we can also give a brave overview about the beginning of the Christianity in Petra and in late antiquity. But before diving into Christianity in Petra, I would like first say a word about the beginning of the Christianity. And you know that any understanding of this religion, Christianity, has to start with Judaism because Jewish was born in Jewish and he grew up in the Jewish tradition. And about 2,000 years ago, in far-flung province in the Middle East, man emerged from the desert with a message when that would radically alter the course of the world events, as I think, and comes to define the lives of billions. And you know that Christianity is a monotheistic religion that centers of the teachings of Jewish Christ. You know also that Christianity, a religion, began about, as I said, 2,000 years ago as a sect of Judaism in the Roman Palestine. What's known about Christianity, Elias' days and the life of Jewish Jesus Christ comes from the four books of called Gospel, and the story of Jesus' life can be found similar told in the Gospel of Matthew, Mark, and Luca. But if we want to understand the Christianity in Petra and the change of religion in Petra and southern Jordan from paganism to Christianity, and for clear understanding of the nature of Christianity at Petra during the Byzantine surely period, it's necessary to investigate the transition of Byzantine from paganism to Christianity, especially that Petra used to constitute an important administrative unit in the Byzantine state. And the city of Petra was not isolated surely from the church events at the Byzantine state since the 4th century AD. Petra hosted Christianity and became a new city with the Byzantine culture. And in this slide, we can see that Petra, and this slide and this slide, we can see that Petra consists important part of Byzantine Empire during the 4th century. But before the emperor Constantine I announced that Christianity is recognized as a legal religion in the Byzantine state, Christianity has has spread in the most of Levant or Bilad al-Sham, and transition into Christianity has led to whipping out most of the paganism features. We find that Constantine the First has followed a peaceful policy towards the Christians, who became more powerful in the Byzantine state, especially in the beginning of the 4th century, as they were allowed to practice their own rituals, especially after the edict of Milan issued for religious tolerance. Despite the religious tolerance policy practiced by this emperor towards Christianity, he did not make any serious attempts, as I think, to prevent paganism in the Byzantine empire. The period surely of religious tolerance in the era of Constantine the First was preceded by a period of religious persecution against the Christianity and the Christians, representing in preventing them of practicing their rituals freely. And when the number of Christians has increased in the Roman state, the Roman emperors such as Trajan or Hadrian issued several decrees stipulating that the desolation of Christian groups, preventing their meetings and practicing their rituals, and forcing them to submit offerings and sacrifice to the Roman gods. And historical accounts which provide us with information about the beginning of Christianity in Petra and in southern Jordan point out the persecution that Christians were exposed to all over the Roman Empire. And the Christians of Petra in particular, because they refused the Diocletian or Diocletianus decrees to submit offerings to pagan gods, were they punished to work at Finan mines. And this slide show that the the area and the weather of Finan, as the Byzantine sources mentions that the Roman punished the early Christians to work in this harsh deserts. It's worth here to mentioning that the Emperor Constantine the first, despite the demolition of some temples and the removal of its ceilings and doors, he allowed the establishment of other temples in Byzantine state. And Constantine did not witness the end. The reign of Constantine the First surely did not witness the end of the construction of the temples, especially the historical and archaeological evidence of Petra and some sites near Petra in southern Jordan indicate the continued opening of temples until the end of the 4th century AD. And in this slide, we can see the temple of the Wadiram is one of the most important temples, actually, which were built during the 4th century and maybe rebuilding another times during the 4th century. And this is indicate there is some in this period in the 4th and 5th century. This is periods and 2 centuries witnessed a clash between and conflict between the Christianity and paganism. I think the Byzantine period was one of the most important periods of intensive human settlement in Petra and southern Jordan. And the Christian religion was found in the Roman state since the 1st century AD, but it was the religion of the minority until it was recognized by Constantine after the issue of the Milan decree. But it's important to say here that the Christianity took hundreds of years to become the official religion in Byzantine state, as I think. Hence, the religious transition and shift from paganism to Christianity took many generations, always as we shall see in the struggle between the pagans and the Christians in Petra, especially during the 5th century. The period surely of conversion from paganism to Christianity in Petra is one of the most difficult periods to be studied, since there is actually no historical material to deal with this period. Therefore, the nature of this transition can be identified by some of Byzantine sources, as well as the results of archaeological excavations. We can see some important Byzantine sources as Procopius, Eusebius, Sosmius. This is very important historical sources to provide us with many information about the Christianity and the clash and conflict between the pagans and Christianity, and also archaeological excavations, especially after 1993, after they discovered the Petra papyri, also give us more important information about the spread of Christianity in Petra during the 4th and 5th century. Yes, the process of conversion of Christianity in Petra was slow, as I studied in Byzantine sources, especially with the penetration of pagan religion into the minds and culture of the local people. Maybe this is also observed in the course of the transition from paganism to Christianity in the Byzantine Empire in general. Therefore, paganism was found in Petra side by side with Christianity during 4th century. Maybe it continued until the 5th century. And in this slide, we can see here that there's a big churches here. We will talk also about these churches. Here we can see the Petra Church, Petra Petra Church, and here the Blue Church and the Red Church, and this is Cologne Street. Sorry, this is Cologne Street, and this is Great Temple, Palace, Castle Bend Temple, the Ger Palace Temple, and here's the Temple of the Winged Lions, and this is represent the paganism, and this is represent the Christianity, and this maybe indicate the tolerance of the local people from Christianity to pagans, and from pagans to Christianity. And it should be noted here, maybe, that Christianity did not spread throughout the Byzantine Empire in one period, but took a period of time to become the official religion, with keeping the use of some pagan symbols in art and mosaics, as we shall see during the Christian period, along with the reuse of pagan elements in the building of the churches. We can mention surely that the end of paganism in Petra and southern Syria cannot be attributed to the coming of Christianity, but to the oppressive policy followed by the Byzantine state against the followers of this religion, and the destruction of the culture and the religious identity of the pagans. Eusebius, this is very important sources. Eusebius described Petra during this period as the famous noble city. He also discussed the construction of churches in the area during the middle of the 4th century AD. And it seems that the continued paganism and celebrating it in Petra with the presence of a Christian sect has led to the intercommunal communal disputes. When the Byzantine state was transmitted to Christianity, the Nabatean gradually transmitted to Christianity. In 343 AD, in Sardica Council, convinced to discuss the Christian dispute over the nature of a Christ. And the church historian Theodore state that the bishop of Petra, called Astrios, rejected the ideas put forward by the followers of Arius and joined the other side of the opposition. Epiphanius also talks about the participation of Petra Bishop Germanus in the church council held in the city of Seleucia in 305, about 305 AD, to discuss the heresy of Arius. And this means that despite the destruction of Petra and exposed to after the earthquake of 363 AD and its destruction of parts of this city, it continued to be a vibrant city after it became a set of Byzantine bishopric. However, we don't know exactly when Christianity entered the Petra and began to influence the classical sense in the region. However, it's important to say that it's difficult to conclude that paganism was completely eradicated from the areas under the rule of the Nabateans. I think that the process of transition to Christianity in Petra was slow and even from time to time, and the pagan worship continue in Petra alongside building churches. The historian of Christianity, Eusebius, gives us, as I mentioned before, more information about construction of churches in Petra, as well as the existence of followers of paganism during this period. And this means that the dual or multi-faith practice, pagan and Christian worship, in the first third of the 4th century. The church historian Sosminus cites in the end of the 4th century that the two cities of Areopolis here in Karkmoba and Petra are among the cities of whose pagan people defended their temples, and says there were still pagans in many cities who contended on behalf of their temples. What the historian Sosmenes mentioned indicate that paganism persisted in Petra until the end of the 4th century and probably the beginning of the 5th century, which means that the transition from paganism to Christianity in Petra and its hinterland passed through I think harsh and difficult conditions during the 4th and 5th century. It's important to note here that the account of historian Sosminus also during the end of the 4th century shows that there is a pagan sect in Petra as early as at least the beginning of the 5th century AD. Although the destruction of these temples after the earthquake of in 363 and the legislation that were issued to demolish the temples and prevent the practice of paganism rituals in Petra. The spread of Christianity in Petra did not prevent here the spread of paganism sometimes and continuation of Nabatean pagan worship until the end of the 4th century AD. As the Bishop of Fianus mentioned that the worship Dushara, and this is the patriot god of the Nabatean, and there's a big celebrations held in Petra and some areas such as Khalousa in the Negev on December of each year for the Dushara, the god, and this means that the continuation of worshipping Dushara in Petra at the end of the 4th century shows the integration between the paganism and Christianity in Petra. But although the spread of Christianity in Petra during the 4th century and beyond, evidence of a Christian hostility towards the pagan forms at Petra is uncertain, despite the account of Sosminus about the defense of pagans about their temples during the 4th century AD. But the archaeological evidence provide us with important information about the continued presence of the god Dushara in Petra for a later period in the history of the city, where a large bust of this god was found at the gate of the temple of Kasr al-Bint, and the statues was found above layer of sand that helped to maintain it. In the 5th century AD, the Byzantine author Hesychius of Alexandria stated that Dushara or Dysarius is Dionysius of the Nabateans. And some sources also mention during the 6th century that there are some stones that represent the gods in various areas close to Petra, as it's clear from this site, and this is represent the ancient gods in in Petra. In Petra. The Church of Nicene undertook to spread Christianity in the 4th century through missionary campaigns, including campaigns sent to Petra to spread Christianity among the local people. In the way Saint Parsoma noted that paganism was strong in the areas that they passed, and they were the master of the country and towns of this region, and closed the doors of their city in his face and the face of his companies. It's clear that the people of Petra were converted to Christianity during the period between the death of the pagan emperor Julian and holding the Council of Chalcedon. And it seems that through the study of archaeological finds and historical sources, the process of transition to Christianity at Petra was completed during the 6th century AD. Maybe the Petra papyri dated to the middle of 6th century showed the existence of Christian community in Petra during this period with some pagans, and the Petra papyri discovered in one chamber in Petra Church shows that there's a big maybe Christian community in Petra during the 5th and 6th century, and this means that the paganism was practiced side by side with the Christian religion in Petra. But I think that the end of the end of the 4th to 6th century witnessed the peak of converting the pagan buildings and temples into churches in Petra. One of the most significant evidence of the transition of the people of Petra in the Christianity is the inscription of Aran tomb, which dated to the end of the 4th century AD. And this inscription refers to the conversion of Aran tomb into this Aran tomb to convert into church by Saint Jason, the bishop of the city, the bishop of the city, and maybe the converting of Aran tomb into the church indicates an increase in the number of Christians in the Petra and the beginning of the establishment of social forces for the Christian in the city. But a Christian seems to have had two ways of dealing with paganism and their temples in Petra, either to destroy the temples and statues, or they modify some of the architectural features of existing buildings in accordance with the nature of Christianity. Uh, Archaeological surveys also have shown that the conversion of the royal tomb in Petra, known as the Dare, into Christian monastery at the unspecified time. This monastery was used by the Nabateans as a place to hold their religious rites, and the inscriptions found near the monastery indicate that was used by the Christians, where a set of crosses was found carved in the rock dated to the 5th 5th century AD, 5th century AD. Finally, in this section, we conclude that after the adoption of Christianity, the importance of paganism has gradually diminished, although it remained relatively sparsely among the local people of Petra, and the information of maybe of the Byzantine sources about pagans and their temples and the order of Byzantine emperors to prevent them from holding their religious rites indicates that paganism was still present in Petra during the 6th century AD, even after the construction of churches. This is illustrated surely by the use of pagan symbols in churches. Uh, Maybe if we have time just to give over a quick overview about the church buildings in Petra during the Byzantine period, and the main churches in Petra. Although minority of the pagan people of the Byzantine Empire continued to practice pagan in later periods, the construction of churches does not mean the end of the pagan practice by some local resident of Petra. And the people of Petra did not use the same temples to build the churches, although there is a group of temples in the province of Palestine, Salutirs, and Palestina, Tertia. The local people use them as churches, such as the temples here of Oboda in the Negev, where the churches were built in the ruins of the temple. But the end of the 5th century and the beginning of the 6th century witnessed the peak and the construction of churches in provinces of the Byzantine state. And the grounds and walls of most of these churches were paved with mosaics, marble, and plaster, and they were also decorated with maybe aspects of daily life, such as grazing, hunting, and agriculture, and with geometric shapes and design, as well as personifications of lands, seas, rivers, and season. And it's evident throughout the construction of the churches in Petra and decorating them with mosaics, flower with the human and animal images, that these churches were funded by donors from the local people in Petra, under the supervision of the church. But recent excavations uncovered recent excavations after 1993 conducted this excavation by American School of Oriental Research in Amman, uncovered three churches at Petra. Here the Petra Church and the Blue Church and the Red Church, which were built between the 4th and 5th centuries, and one churches attached to the monastery, as clear from the slide, attached to monastery near the city center in Jabal Harun. But all three Petra churches are located, as we said, Blue Church, Red Church, Petra Church in one places, but it's not known why the Christian in Petra did not build their churches over the three pagan temples. Here, the pagan temples, the Great Temple, Castral Bent, and the Temple of Winged Lions. This is very important questions. Why the Christian in Petra did not build their churches over the three pagan temples? That these temples represent the sample of paganism in Petra. That is the Temple of Castral Bent, the Temple of Winged Lions, and the Great Temple. It seems that the increase in the Christian people in Petra has promoted them to convert Orantum, as I mentioned before, and the monastery into a church, in addition to building a new church. And the architects and bishops followed the basilica system in architecture when building churches in Petra, with the use of local effects inherited by the local peoples. So the construction of the three churches that have been discovered so far in one place and in the front of the temple shows that the Christians were interested in setting up their churches in the center of the city, and this meant that the Christian communities in Petra have become empowered to build their churches within the city itself, allowing Christian worshippers to easily reach these churches. The first churches was called the main churches. This is a big church, was built between the 4th and 5th centuries AD and continued to be used until the end of the 6th century, as evidenced by Petra papyri, which was found charred in the chamber next to the church. This and the papyri explained that this church was built for a place and Holy Lady, the most glorious Mother of God, and ever Virgin Mary. And the Church of Petra is considered surely one of the best churches that preserved its status and preserved the mosaic in it, and some columns and stones from the old Nabateans building have been maybe reused to build the church. And this slide shows that the mosaics from the Petra main church, and it should be pointed here that influence of paganism sometimes appears in the maybe architecture of Christian churches during this Byzantine period. For example, in these churches called the Petra main church, the pillars of the main door shows images of pagan gods. Some images of pagan icons were put in the mosaic of the church, along with personification of four seasons, thus indicating the presence of pagan influences from Hellenistic maybe and Roman culture. The original name of second church is not known. Therefore, it was called the Red Church. It was built on the basilica system and enclosed one semicircular apsis and a nave for the church. The apsis was decorated with colorful mosaic pieces. It dated to the end of the 4th century AD or the beginning of the 5th century AD. It's, I think, as archaeological excavations indicated, that this Red Church is the oldest church discovered in Petra until now, and was built on the ruins of an unknown temple building. And the stone of the building were used to build the church. The third church, known as the Blue Church, is located between Petra main church and the Red Church, and archaeological surveys have shown that this church was built on the ruins of military barracks used during the Nabatean and Roman periods, but was later used by Christian in Petra as a church and as a bishopric. The church dated this Blue Church dated to the period between the 4th and 5th century AD. Archaeological surveys conducted in the area and the church near the church revealed a group of blue marble blocks used in the manufacture of the church pulpit, in addition to the chancel screen. And the church was named the Blue Church for the use of four blue Egyptian marble columns dated to the Nabatean period. As a result, we conclude that the transition of the local people at Petra into Christianity did not differ in sense from the rest of the pagan societies in the Byzantine Empire, as well as the city was battleground between the paganism and Christianity, like other regions. And but actually, bearing in mind that by the 6th century AD, pagans became a minority, not only in Petra, but also in the Byzantine state. Also, maybe the last, if you give me 1 minute. Also, it seems that there is an urgent need in Petra and its hinterland for more archaeological excavations to I think reveal more aspects of religion and social life in the Petra in the late antiquity, taking into consideration that these religious aspects did not differ much more in their manifestation and practice of Arabs before Islam. Thank you very much for your attention, and forgive me for this quickly in the quick overview of this topic. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, maybe you can turn the sharing screen so we could see you.
Yeah.
All right. So I just wanted to, if you have time, that is, to invite our friends to ask any questions if they have. I, for myself, have a question about a couple particular things. One is, if I'm not mistaken, in my readings about Petra, read somewhere that under the rich church there are two tombs of unknown origin. Well, there may be the origin is known, but their relation to the church is not known. And I wanted to wonder if it's possible to hypothesize that since it's the earliest church from among those that were found, that it was possibly built in the tombs where martyrs from the Diocletian era were buried. And it may be connection in that regard, the church was built on top of those martyric burials. What your thoughts on the subject may be in that regard?
Yeah. Thank you. This is very important questions. And my last article published about this topic, I agree that the Red Church is the oldest church in Petra, and maybe the Christian people in Petra rebuilt built a new church called this Blue Church and used columns from the Neopathian and Roman period in this church. The tombs, yes, there's 3 tombs under the ground of the church. And maybe the archaeological excavations conducted by the American School of Oriental Research in this church assert that this church was built on the ruins of military barracks, as I said, used in the period before the Christian people. Maybe you used during the Nabatean and Roman periods. Maybe return to the period of Diocletian. During the maybe the period of conflict, there's a period of conflict between the Christians and pagans in Petra during this period, and we know that the a great persecution against Christians happened in this period, 284 to 305, during the period of Diocletianus or Diocletian.
Well, thank you. If anybody have any more questions, please, this would be time to ask. Mike, I see that you have your microphone on.
Yeah, the last few slides, the columns that were reused, to my very amateur eyes, the capitals of those columns look somewhat Egyptian. Is there any connection? Okay. Right.
Oh, sorry. There's some mistake. Yes. Hello?
Hello, yeah.
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 So the question was whether there's an Egyptian influence in those columns.
Yeah. You know that first the Petra site located in the important site for trade and commercial interchange between Arabia and Egypt. And we know that the Nabateans has good relations with Egypt. We found many capitals and colons from Egypt in the Petra, and these 4 colons represent one of the most important indicator that there's a relation between the community of Petra and Egypt. In some slide, when we talk about the gods, we saw that there's a god called also Isis. Isis is also come from Egypt, and this is very important. Also, gods. This is Isis. Isis. This is represent one of the important god in Egypt, and this is reflect the relation between two people in Egypt and Petra in southern Jordan. Not only in art and colors, also in religion. In religion, and you so here that there's a similarity between this is figurine from Egypt, and this is figurine from Wadi Abu Ulaika Petra, from Petra. This means that there is a good relation between Egypt and the community of Petra, not only in Nabatean period, not only in the pagans period, also in the Christian, still this relation in the Christian community during the 4th and 5th century. Thank you.
Any more questions, dear friends? If anybody, please turn your microphone on and you could ask. Dr. Mohammed, I have one more question.
Yes.
We have later Crusader evidence that although Petra by the time of the Crusades were largely, if not completely, abandoned, that Crusaders, when they were visiting Petra, encountered monks at the monastery. And usually when would go to Petra, a tour guide or escort would say that it was reference to a der, or monastery that is really a temple or a tomb up in the mountain.
Yeah.
But reality behind it seems that it's probably more of a house of Aaron or monastery of Aaron where the monks would be, because it was such a major pilgrim site.
Yeah.
So do you have any information or suggestions whether Crusader sources referring to the Jabal Harun mountain and monastery of Aaron there, or they refer to a der, or the monastery up in the mountain? Or it's impossible,
Yeah.
or it's impossible to tell for sure.
Yeah. You ask about the sources, talking about this period.
And where those monks could have been. Is it possible that they were in both places, or we talking about St. Aaron's monastery, because there's no clarity as to where they could have been at the time?
Yeah. I think, Ali, that the Arabic sources and during the Crusaders period mentioned that there's a monks live in Al-Uairi castle, and Al-Uairi castle, and this castle it's near Petra, and also these sources during the Crusaders mentioned that there's a Christians community in Jabal Harun, and the monastery still found till now. And it's important maybe to say that the Christian people in Petra is still live in Petra until 19th century, the beginning of 20th century, until the first World War. And the Christians leave the Petra and migrated to Karak. Then from Karak to Madaba. There's many Christians leave Petra during the 18th century and 19th century to go to the Madaba and Al-Karak. But here archaeological excavations in Al-Uairi castle and near Jabal Harun revealed many Christian sites close to the Jabal Harun and close to the monastery, and close to the Sayhun village. Sayhun village is a small village near Petra. There is a big site for Christians called Mohammed Al-Nasarat. Christians caves still hold this name until till now. This is, I think, is very great and interesting indicator that the Christians found in this in Petra and around the sites of Petra in monastery and in Jabal Harun, and in the valley near Jabal Harun, the valleys close to Jabal Harun, there is many carved cross in the stone, and the walls of caves indicate that there is a big Christian community life in Petra during 4th and 5th century, and the community still live during the Islamic period. This is very important, that the Islam did not prevent the Christians to practice their rituals. They allow to Christians to build new churches and to reuse the another buildings to churches, and there's many indicators and evidences from the Arabic sources that that Muslims and caliphates allow to practice the rituals by Christians, and the Christians still practice their rituals in Petra until the Crusades, as the Islamic sources mention, and as I mentioned before, that also the Christians still live until 18th, the beginning of 18th, 19th century. Then migrated Petra to maybe to investigate another better life in Karak and in Madaba. Madaba today in Jordan is the city of Christians. Thank you.
So, dear friends, any more questions? No? Okay. Well, then we thank you very much for participation, Dr. Mohammed. It's very late there.
Thank you.
11:30. So thank you very much for your time and for spending time
with us.
And for a very wonderful presentation. Dear guests, thank you for your attendance. Just in a way of announcement, next Sunday we're going to have a special guest, a graduate from Princeton University, Mr. John Henry, or Dr. John Henry. He'll be talking about his participation in the excavation expedition at Megiddo, where they found the church, supposedly the oldest one today, or prayer hall, more like of Domus Ecclesia. And he'll be talking about that find and also about the station of the Roman legion in the area and vicinity of Megiddo. And on the 14th, we're going to have a presentation by Father Peter Harrington about the Anglo-Saxon Christianity in England prior to the Viking and the Norman invasion. And then we have another couple of lectures lined up, but we need to confirm the dates, so there's much more that is yet to come. So please stay tuned via Facebook, and we're going to have announcements of those lectures coming. So please share with friends, let them join, because the whole idea of this lecture is to have, or to provide rather, the opportunity for people to interact with lecturers. Of course, the records of those are available on YouTube, but it's a point of live interaction that makes this doubly so special. But again, thank you very much for coming. And if you have any comments or anything, please contact me. I'm here. You know where to find me. All right. Till we see each other
Thank
again.
you.
Shukran
Thank
كثير,
you.
Dr. Mohammed.
Thank you.
Salam.
Thank you.
Thanks.